How to activate your core muscles. This is the thing that everyone seems to think they have got right and nearly everybody actually gets wrong. What is your core? Your core are muscles that support your spine. They're little muscles that attach onto each segment of your spine and create a brace around the center of your spine to provide stability. You can also think of your core muscles as a cylinder. For the cylinder to work properly to produce enough power to support your spine, each aspect of the cylinder has to be working properly. So the top of the cylinder is your diaphragm, which is why breathing is so important. If you don't get your breathing right with your diaphragm, you're losing all the power the rest of your core muscles generate out the top of the cylinder. So we need to have your breathing right to know that your core muscles are working properly. At the bottom of the cylinder are your pelvic floor muscles. Around the front of the cylinder is what we call your transversus abdominis, and around the back of the cylinder is what we call your multifidus. A lot of people think that the name abs rings a bell. People think that abs means you're strengthening your core. If you've got strong abs and you've got a strong six-pack, that you've got a really well-developed core. Unfortunately, your abs are what we call your rectus abdominis, and this is not a core muscle. This is not a muscle that stabilizes your spine. So if you're doing 10 million sit-ups a day, no, you do not necessarily have a strong core. The core muscles are muscles that lie deep to that layer. They're deep inside, surrounding your spine, almost like wearing a corset. So how do we activate these muscles? Like I said, firstly, it's really important to engage your diaphragm. You can go back to previous videos on my diaphragmatic breathing technique. This is how you engage your diaphragm, by actually learning how to use your diaphragm properly during breathing and not using what we call your accessory breathing muscles, which are your intercostal muscles or your traps at the top, which create an apical breathing pattern. Then we need to learn how to activate your pelvic floor muscles and the front and the back of the cylinder. So what you're going to do is you're going to lie on your back. And what's also really important is to find what we call a neutral spine position. So this means that your spine is not arched and resting in that position, or not too tilted where your bum is almost lifted off the floor. We want to be able to find the halfway position of that. So that's how you're first going to start your core activation. You're going to tuck your bum in, almost as though you're tucking your tailbone between your legs as far as you can go, without lifting your whole bum up off the ground. And then you're going to arch your lower back by sticking your tailbone into the ground, and then you're going to find halfway in between those two movements. And that will almost feel as though that natural hollow of your lower back is being pushed into the ground. So there's actually no area for you to slide your hand between the ground and your back. After that, I want you to take two fingers and you're going to find your hip bone on either side. Move your fingers just inwards of the hip bone over the V area, and you're just going to rest them there. It might help to just put them under your clothes so that you can feel your skin. And I want you to cough in this position. As you cough, you can feel a hard wall rise up under your fingers. It's a hard, flat wall, whereas if you had to do a sit-up like that, you would feel a rounded mass in the middle in that section. That is not what we want to activate, because that is your rectus abdominis that creates flexion at your spine instead of stability around your spine. So you're going to get that cough again and then hold that position where you feel that hard wall push up. That is the muscle that you want to activate and hold. If you're battling to hold that, try and think of pulling your belly button gently down towards your spine and holding in a V. This engages your pelvic floor and that transversus abdominis muscle. It creates a hard, flat wall across your lower abdominal area. It's important that your upper abdominal wall is not hard or feeling tense, as this probably means that you're using the wrong muscles and are probably using your rectus abdominis, the same muscle as you do for sit-ups. So place one hand on your upper abdominal area to feel that that is still loose, and the other hand is going to go over your lower abdominal area where you can feel that that core is actually activating properly. So what you're going to do is you're first going to get your pelvic tilt right. So squeeze all the way the one way, all the way the other way, and halfway in between. Then you're going to start engaging your diaphragm by breathing. Remember, your tummy has to rise up and down as you breathe. Once you've got that right, you're then going to activate your lower abdominal wall where your transversus abdominis is by squeezing that lower abdominal muscle, and now engage your breathing at the same time. Often people let that lower abdominal activation go when they breathe out because they can't coordinate the two movements properly. So you just want to make sure that you practice enough so that as you breathe, it doesn't change the activation that you have down there. A lot of people really battle with this activation in the beginning. It comes from years and years of other habitual patterns of activating their core, and it's just about dusting off the cobwebs on those neural connections between your brain and those muscles. The more you do it, the more practice you get, the easier it will come, and eventually you want to turn it into a subconscious process so that no matter what you're doing during the day, if you're walking, you're sitting, you're driving, these core muscles are activated and you actually don't have to think about it.